we're going to investigate all the action items, in other words, the things under this green tab. Let's get started. The first one here, medium motor, that one is specific to the EV3. We will not be using that in NXT. The large motor command, that one we could use. You know what, I'm going to pull it up here just for kicks for the moment. Let's go to the move command, the one that we used previously. And the thing I want to point out with these two, and actually I can set them next to each other, and you can see they're very, very similar. The one big difference is large motor is just one motor, where the move command is two. So it does both B and C, where the large motor is just one. And you can change that similar to how we changed the other one. Just click on it and select whichever motor you want. But all the other things are pretty much the same, not that different. So we've got the rotations. Same thing, the motor can be on, it can be off, it can be on for a certain number of seconds, on for a certain number of degrees. Remember, 360 degrees equals one rotation, or the number of full rotations of that motor. You know, and that's the same for both. The one difference here is this: we've got a little slider here to turn left or right. So where we're controlling two motors, we can actually steer it a little bit. The next element here, this is the speed of the motor. It's currently set at 75. We can bring it all the way up to 100%. In other words, have that motor turn as fast as it can. And we can also go in the negative direction. So once that goes negative, we will go in the reverse direction. Now that may or may not be forward in the application you're using it in. It all depends on how you've turned the motor and how you're using it and how you've defined forward. So, and then obviously the number of turns or rotations. Again, if I set that 2 degrees, you'll see that that changes to the number of degrees. And 360 degrees is one full turn, so I can make it go a half a turn if I put in 180 degrees, or whatever I would like from there. The next element, and this is the same in both, is whether we apply a brake at the end of that motion or whether we allow it to coast. So if I want to have the robot stop right where it's at, I apply a brake. If I want to allow it to coast and maybe I have another move command right after it, I probably want to allow it to coast. I don't want that jerkiness of motion that would be created by having a brake in there. Well, let's go ahead and get rid of that extra command there. Now we've got display. Oh, there's another one in here, the tank, move tank, and we're not really going to use that. What that allows is a little bit different control of the two different motors, similar to the steer, but it gives it to you in a little different format. I'm not going to dive too deep into that one. The other things here, display, that allows us to output some things onto the display. And again, I'm not going to get too deep into that one, just wanted to show you that it's there, it's an option. Some of those will end up looking a little bit strange perhaps for some of them because it is set up for the EV3, and if we're putting it on an NXT, it may not look quite the way we want it to be. Sound, if we want our robot to make a sound of some type, there are a number of different tones or notes that we can select, and I'd encourage you to look at some of those, and then we can set the volume. So I've got a few different options there. We can play it once, or we can repeat it, or we can wait for something else to complete and then stop that element. Again, I would encourage you to play with some of that. And then the final item here, you can see that one does not work with NXT, and because I have an NXT still connected, it recognizes that and tells me, oh, you can't use that. That's for the status light, and that is specific to the EV3. So with that, you know, let's load a couple things together here. Let's put a couple different move commands in here. So if we have our robot go straight for, you know, let's say 3 turns of the motor, and then let's turn. Again, I don't know what direction that is exactly, but we're going to turn one direction, and then we're going to go straight again. And let me link that up. And again, we'll select that for 3 turns. And actually, I'm going to go back here and make that 75 instead of 100 just to be consistent. Doesn't really matter. I can pump it up to full speed if I'd like. And let's put in another turn command in here. All right, now when I run that, what do you think happens? Well, my robot should go straight for 3 turns of the motor. It should turn for 1 turn or 1 rotation of the motor. Now I don't know if that's the left motor or the right motor or the B motor or the C motor. I'm not sure which one is going to do a full turn. Obviously they can't both turn exactly the same. If I'm turning my robot, I'm turning them differently. Then I'm going to go another 3 turns straight, and then I'm going to take another 1 turn at some value here as far as how much I'm going to turn in that direction. So I would encourage you to create a program similar to this, press play, and see what happens. Thanks.